So how is it going, Dank Division? Dank Dan here, and let's face it, we knew this was going to be the 4 letters that were going to be the most trending thing on Twitter the second this game dropped. That, of course, being skill-based matchmaking. SBMM, if you will. So, what exactly is the purpose of this video? I'm going to take it from a couple of different perspectives and talk about where skill-based matchmaking should succeed and where it fails miserably. So, let's do this. So, skill-based matchmaking is pretty much the idea of it is to keep players of the same skill level within the same bracket. Similar to how ranked works, but how it would work is that, let's say if you're absolutely shit at the game, you go in 1 tier. If you're somewhere in the middle, you have it that'll just increase gradually and gradually until eventually you get to the top 1%, where it's pretty much some of the best players of all time. Now that's in a perfect world. But ladies and gentlemen, just like any idea and system, whether that be a government system or a system that's meant to help people, you know that it's not going to go according to plan. Now, what exactly is wrong with it? Well, we're first going to focus on 3 different players. And these can intersect, but we're going to just keep them separate on purpose. First, we have the CDL players. Now, these are the people who play professionally all the time. This is people like Scump. This is people who play at the top of the food chain. These are the people who money is on the line, therefore they are practicing at all times. They are leveling up guns at record pace because they want to be ready for the next match. Now keep in mind, when they hop onto the game, usually for the most part they end up streaming and playing to their heart's content. However, because they are at such a high skill level, the only players they are really going up against are themselves. Now, is this a good thing or a bad thing? You tell me, because here's the problem. You then have it that they only experience the CDL playstyle, which is incredibly aggressive, incredibly fast-paced, no room for pretty much errors. You are only ever allowed to run the meta weapon, because if you're not running the quote-unquote meta weapon, you are getting your ass handed to you. Which makes running challenges, doing camos, shit, a rather difficult thing. Now, you're going to start to notice a reoccurring thing as we continue on with this. So, the next category that we have is the streamers. Now, keep in mind, I did say that some of the CDL players can be streamers, but let's kind of use an example of ones that aren't. So we're looking at Tim the Tapman, we're looking at Nick Merckx, we're looking at the blue-haired, what the heck's his name, Ninja. We're looking at people who don't play at the professional level per se at all times, but are more of a streamer. They're not necessarily looking to have, drop a 50 kill run or to look like God in game. They're there to put on a show for their fan base, whether that's just for entertainment value or they're looking to actually be good. Now, let's face it, not all streamers are good at the game. Some people are just normal players like you and me, while others probably could try out for CDL but just choose not to. They run into a similar problem that every single game is a constant sweat fest. Therefore, they can only pretty much run the best guns in the game, lest they pretty much get their asses handed to them over and over and over again. Now, let's focus now on the largest player base, the casual players. So this is the category that I fit into. I work the 9 to 5, or in my case, the 7:30 to 6, 4 days a week. I have 1 day off in the middle, and I have the weekends. But I'm also a parent, therefore I only can squeeze in 1 to, let's say, 3 hours a night. This also goes to anyone who's a student. You go to school during the day, you do extracurricular activities if you have them, you do your homework, you hop on, you maybe have 3 or 4 hours at most. You hop on hoping to have a good time, and immediately you are met with the shit show of just getting shit on. And even if you are good at the game, you end up running into a case of, guess what? You're now playing against people just as good as you, so you're not even coming on to detox and have a good time. You are getting beaten up, having to put in your all just to stand a chance, only to have it that if you do good in this game, you move up into another bracket where you get shit on, get brought back down, and you keep playing limbo. The worst thing about the players who aren't absolute shit but aren't god tier players is that they're trapped in this horrible, horrible limbo area. Where if you have one good game, it is followed by 10 games of you getting shit on, followed by one more mediocre game, followed by you getting shit on again, and the cycle continues to repeat itself. And for the people who don't have enough time in the day, whether that be people who are students who are seeking to pretty much better themselves with knowledge and only having those few hours of the day, to the people like myself where we're not getting any younger. Those of us who have been playing COD since the beginning, we're hitting our 20s, 30s, some of us into our 40s. And we have a life outside of gaming, and we can only spare those few hours. And instead of enjoying the game that many of us grew up on, now it almost feels like we're just getting our asses pretty much handed to us. Now, some people are going to say, well, you suck at the game, therefore it's a skill issue. If that were the case, then why are the 3 player bases of COD complaining about the same thing, yet all pointing at each other trying to figure out whose fault it is? Who does skill-based matchmaking truly benefit? Because some people say it's the casual players. Well, the casual players are coming home and just getting beaten up and overall not having fun. Is it the CDL players? No. If it were the CDL players, then they pretty much wouldn't be complaining when they end up playing the old school CODs. In fact, they put the old school CODs towards the height of their tier list. So why is skill-based matchmaking terrible? It's not that skill-based matchmaking is terrible. The idea of it on paper is good. It's then you have so many outlying things that screw it up. Let's say, for example, you want to play with some friends. All varying skill levels. If you load up on your one friend who's really good at the game, guess what? You're in his lobbies now. You better pray to God that you can camp in a corner with a shotgun lest you get your ass handed to you for the entire time you were bending over and taking it in the rear from someone named Sharkwish. And if you caught that reference, kudos to you. But it sucks that it almost feels like those 4 letters just force everyone into playing sweaty at all times, every time. Gone are the days of everyone just running a rocket launcher just to be a dick for a day. Gone are the days of people just running knives only, although there is still that one COD player that still does that. But I digress. This leaves an interesting place to think on. How should skill-based matchmaking be implemented in order for it to succeed? Because let's face it, it's not going anywhere. We're still going to get disbanding lobbies, and believe me, I still hate that. And skill-based matchmaking is still going to be there. How do you fix it? Because to be perfectly honest, if they use the variation that's used for the limited time modes in Warzone, you might have something. In which case, you have a player base that is, you have a hodgepodge. You have good players, decent players, shit players. The shit players are going to get their asses handed to them. The people in the middle have a chance to either get shit on or get shit done. And the people at the top of the food chain get a little bit of a mix where they might all of a sudden go, what the hell is this psychopath doing? And it's someone who's an average player doing a different play style that might throw off the high-end player. Because honestly, in order for gaming to succeed, we need to go back to the days of the equivalent of going to the YMCA and playing a pickup game of basketball with every skill level rather than feeling like we're playing in a league at all times. So in the comment section down below, I want to hear from you. Which spot do you fit into? Are you the casual player, or are you someone who's trying to go pro? Are you a small-time streamer who's trying to make it big? Or are you just someone who just likes COD and just wants to play the game? And I want to hear your thoughts on skill-based matchmaking. Now, with that being said, I'm going to do my best not to cover this too often because it feels like hitting my head against a brick wall and not much is really going to change when money talks when it comes to Call of Duty. But with that being said, I'm looking forward to reading that comment section. You guys have a wonderful day, night, whatever you're doing. As always, do it wholeheartedly. And of course, as always, this is Dank Dan, signing off.
Get them to click that subscribe button, Dank. It's the only way we can figure out the numbers. What do the numbers mean, Dank? We're wasting valuable time.